हरिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् ॐ शिष्यात्म समर्पण कार्पण्य दोषो उपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ Welcome to the class, and we are towards the end of the 8th shloka in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The shloka goes like this: Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyayo hya karmanah sharira yatra pichate na prasidhyeda karmanah. We were at a point where we were almost towards the end of analysis, and let us see how we can experience this shloka. Basically, we can observe a beautiful and a progressive way of communication. Bhagavan started with a spiritual argument, then moved towards the psychological aspect. And finally, he is coming to the physical or the biological basis, the actual doing. Even eating and breathing requires action. One cannot avoid karma. That is the message here. The message that we see is life is a journey, sharira yatra. Responsibility is part of and an essential element towards this travel. Spirituality is not escaping responsibility. Rather, it is transforming that responsibility. Life is not reacting to a situation. Rather, it is developing the ability to understand the situation and drive actions proactively. Having understood this, we should transform ourselves. We should shift our thought, shift our questions from why karma to how karma. Arjuna, problem was he was asking why karma. I'm not going to do the karma. Bhagavan is saying transform it to how that karma has to be done. And this is also raising which or what karma. And to that, Bhagavan is giving the answer, Niyatam Karma, Niyatam Karma Kuru, that which the situation warrants. Now they come in the shape of obvious, or it will offer some choices to you. I can do this or I cannot do this. Or it can come with a certain unclear role clarity. How we determine Niyatam Karma is called as Vivekaha, intelligence. This is not a definition. It is not do this and that is going to be intelligent. Intelligence is a part of maturing in our life. And as we mature, the clarity with which we can see what is the Niyatam Karma will only increase. Now, we are basically focusing on the how, so let us focus on Karma Yoga. In our darshana, we also look into a suitability aspect. Say, one says, I want to take up the spiritual path. We take it as the words from Bhagavan as start with your existing responsibilities. You are a Kshatriya, Arjuna. So in the war, go ahead and protect dharma. Now, do not invent new spiritual activities in life which your body is not accustomed to. It is in your own role that you will find the path and not through a change in the lifestyle. This is the biggest of the message that we get in Karma Yoga from Bhagavan. One may ask the question, then for whom is Sankhya way of life? Because Bhagavan started by saying for the Sankhyas there is Sankhya Yoga, and for the Yoga there is Karma Yoga. So who is going to benefit from Sankhya? Why at all a Sankhic way of life? Why should one become a sannyasi? In our darshana, we emphasize that this is a natural progression. There will come a point in life when you have an absolute contentment and you find no dependence internally to the yogic life. You might mature into Sankhya Marga. The example that we often give is Yajñārtha in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What does he do? He has attained that particular place, and then he says, hey, this is my wealth. I divide it into two, and I give it to my wives, and I take leave, and then go into a sannyasa. Whereas one wife will accept it, the other wife will become a student. It is such a beautiful, and all through the discussions that they have is amazing, very revealing in nature. However, we, as part of our way of life, instead of shifting it, because we have not come to the point of maturity, then what we need to do is continue our path. And in that continuation also, there is spiritual growth and moksha. The examples are King Janaka, Ajata Shatru. Then, there is one very beautiful, great poet. His name is Abhirama Bhattar. I'm just putting it into a normal life. He was a priest in a temple. What happened was, when he was a priest, he was absolutely a priest. Once the king comes to the temple and asks this person, is it Purnima or Amavasa today? And he very boldly says, it is Purnima, though it will be an Amavasa. So the king orders, saying that if he cannot see the moon today, you will be killed. At that time only he writes. There is a beautiful set of poetry called as Abhirami Andadi in Tamil that he writes. So that elevation can happen in your natural way of life. He is a priest in the temple and he continues to serve as a priest in the temple. But he could attain his liberation through what he was doing. Arjuna wants to take up the path of sannyas, bhiksha jivanam. The objective is attaining moksha, because that is one of the main objectives of a human life. Arjuna asked this question after asking about sthita prajna. This is to be kept in mind. Hence, his question can be interpreted as, Bhagavan, can you tell me which path leads me to moksha? The Brahmi sthiti. That is the last word that Bhagavan had said in the second chapter, 72nd Shloka. And Bhagavan responds, before you think about moksha, are you even willing to do your duty today? The path to moksha is not in the path. It is in the attitude towards life, which you can start right now, right here. And this is for all of us. Karma Yoga does not begin by choosing an extraordinary action. It begins by performing the ordinary actions in our life, the God-given responsibility, in an extraordinary spirit of duty, devotion, and non-attachment. Asaktaha, asakta swarupam. An alternate version. Here, what I have heard is the Sharira Yatra is taken as death. Even once death, everybody has to die. Even that death will not happen if not for being engaged in a karma, is the way that they have interpreted. And for that, they are giving the quote from the 8th chapter, 5th shloka and the 6th shloka, where Bhagavan is giving the answer. Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastasya samshayah, is the way that he puts it. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Very beautiful one. But we do not ascribe to that. This is something that I have heard of, so I am bringing it to your attention. saying that, okay, if somebody comes and says, hey, how can you say Sharira Yatra is normal way of life? It is, Arjuna asked the question as, Adi yajñah katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katam jñeyosi niyatatmabhihi. Here the prayana kalam has been used, and the same prayanam is what yatra is as well. So creating a new meaning of Sharira Yatra to mean your life journey is not that accurate. We should associate it with what the bhava that Bhagavan has used is a very strong argument that we can encounter. And we say that, hey, this is an incorrect interpretation, or perhaps an interesting interpretation at the most. The difference between prayanam and yatra is onward or away versus movement or journey. In terms of yatra, it includes the meaning of onward or away, but it also includes through and other aspects. So why we say this is incorrect? In this shloka, the context is karma versus karma yoga. This is not antakalam or prayana kalam. The Sharira Yatra follows karma jyayo hya karmanah. That is, if you look at the shloka, Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jyayo hya karmanah. Here, the comparison is very clearly between karma, doing karma, and not doing karma. Here, the illustration is clearly living, and Sharira Yatra api clearly points to the movement or journey of the body. In English, we say life is a journey. We also say his final journey. The context should define what the journey, what the term journey represents. And unless we put the right context, we will not be able to derive the correct meaning. And it will get more fit when you put the previous shloka and the next shloka into the same aspects. So with this, we can go into the Bhāṣyam. Acharya says, Niyatam, that which is eternal, the action for which one is entitled and whose fruit is not declared, ashruta, not heard of. That prescribed niyata, the action that you perform, O Arjuna, because karma is superior, greater in result than in action, than a non-performance or non-commencement. Katam Sharira Yatra is the way that he goes. How? Even the maintenance of the body, the sustenance of the body, for you would not succeed. It would not be accomplished by inaction, by non-performance. Therefore, the difference between desired action and obligatory action is evident in the work. And if you think that action should not be performed because it is a cause of bondage, that too is incorrect. Acharya very beautifully introduces the next shloka. Shloka number 9. Yajñārtat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. So here, Bhagavan is defining what is karma yoga and how that karma yoga should be seen. What brings about a bondage and what liberates you. That is what Bhagavan has proceeded to. Yajñārtat karmanah anyatra, driven by the performance of performing a yajna as an offering to the god. That is the attitude that we must develop towards karma. Such a karmanah is what is praised, and the non-performance of duty as a yajna bhava is denounced, anyatra, other than those which are performed with the intent, with the focus of yajna, is in this world, I am loke, karma bandhanah, binds you to that action. Tadartham, towards that, as in towards the yajna bhavam. However, we can also use tad as in Om Tat Sat, right? Tattvamasi. We have seen that the God is used as a concept in that tad. So we can also say the Supreme Paramatman for the sake of tadartam karma kaunteya. The actions, Kaunteya, O Arjuna, son of Kunti, Mukta Sangha Samachara, liberated from attachment, the Sangaha, Samachara, Samachara, the total or complete Acharati, following the proper way is what is Acharati. Samachara, in the total or complete conduct or behavior should become that way, is the direct meaning of this shloka. When we go into the analysis, let us start with a small reflection again. What has Bhagavan said so far? Action cannot be avoided. Mere renunciation does not liberate. Perform your prescribed duties and perform them without attachment. In this verse, Bhagavan establishes what transforms an ordinary action into a karma yoga, and that is Yajñārtham. Literally, for the sake of yajna or dedicated to yajna. Now, in common usage, yajna, or as often we say as havan, has become something that we offer to the fire. We have a prayer, we put up fire, and then we start offering to the fire. The deeper meaning is something is being offered back to the gods. The agent being the fire delivering the offering to those respective gods or devatas for whom we offer this havis. Exercise that moves from verbal, way of offering, arti words, tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera, right? So that concept is developed in an action. That is what is yajna. What has Bhagavan said? Yajñārthat karmanaha anyatra ayam loke. In this loka, the term anyatra is a beautiful divider here. Bhagavan establishes that there are only two kinds of karma. One, that which is performed as a yajna, and one, which is not performed as a yajna. With the use of the word lokoyam, Bhagavan says this division is applicable to the entire world. Karma bandhanaha. And when you do not do it, this is going to bind you. The division established is karma that binds and karma that purifies. And that which purifies you will take you towards the liberation. The purification and liberation as the other part is not explicitly mentioned in this shloka. Mukta Sangha Samachara, right, is the way that he has ended it. It is also fine if one were to take it as karma that binds and karma that does not. Why are you unnecessarily imagining muktam? Unnecessarily imagining moksham? If that kind of question comes, we can say, yes, we do agree. Right. But it is kind of more pleasing, so I'm just taking it that way. But what you're saying is correct. Here, the division is very clearly karma that binds and the karma which does not. Now, we have to go into Yajñārtham. This is what karma yoga is. Is karma yoga going to temple? No. Is it offering prayers? No. Is it chanting mantra? No. Is it meditation? No. Yajñārtham refers to the transfer of ownership in everything you do. Be it going to the temple or going to work or cooking or even giving dan. In everything, the transfer of ownership in your mindset is what Yajna Bhavam emphasizes. Instead of I work for me, it becomes an offering that I'm making to God. Even the attitude I offer to God is not karma yoga because there is a aham bhava which gets projected there. Instead of I work for me, it becomes an offering which is made to God. That I is not there. In real terms, let us take a clarifying statement. I offer this class to God. Now, this is just an expression. If in reality, my attitude is this class is an offering that I am making to God, then this becomes a karma yoga. Though I say I offer this class to God. And it is because I merely become an instrument in the hands of God, in line with Nimitta Matram Bhava Savyasachan. On the other hand, if I had said this class is an offering to God, but my attitude is, wow, I have offered this to God. If this becomes an attitude, then though the words are very clear, this class is an offering to God, there is no aham bhava in that particular statement. But in my attitude, that aham bhava is still residing. And because of that, it does not become karma yoga. It is not the words, it is the attitude which defines the yajna bhavam. What is yajna? Yajna is surrendering your ego. If you look at the Veda, it says yajño vai Vishnu. Now, Acharya quotes it in his Bhāṣyam as well as in Upanishadic statements. An exercise in which all that is done is a reflection of God. Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahma Agni, Brahmanahutam. Right? Everything that we have, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina, it is everything is that Parabrahma Swarupam. It is a methodical way of surrendering the ego. Every action says not me, not for me. And eventually this exercise matures into na mama, not mine. Aham na karta. I am not the doer. And this is a maturity that happens. And the yajna that the havan that we perform is something that should lead you towards that. It is kind of practiced as, okay, I have to do it once a year, so I will do it, kind of a thing in Fijian family, for example. But the idea is what is yajna must be realized. Aham na karta na mama. And in yajna, we can see that. So how does it go? We do asanam, then yajna kundam, sankalpam, etc. These are all the processes that we do. Right? So basically, we, put where we are sitting, we purify it. Then we put a yajna kunda. Then we take a sankalpa that this is what I am doing. Then we do the devata stapana, like we worship and put flowers, including for the Navagraha, etc. Then we, basically in the east, it is Garuda Dhwaja. In the south, it is Madhusudana. In the west, it is Janardhana. In the north, it is Maheshwara, is the way that it is. On top of it, Urdhvam is Dhata and Adharam is Bhumi or Prithvi. So we put everything around us in terms of God. Then we do the Agni Stapana. Then we do a Dikpalaka Sthapanam, the 8 sides, right? Then we do a Gayatri Stuti, and then we start the Samitha Dhanam. How does it go? Here is where the ego is let gone. Very subtle, very beautiful. But we do it without exactly knowing the meaning behind what we are doing. How do we start it? We say, Om Agnaye Swaha, Agnaya Idhan Namama, is the way that we put it. Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. That is the word that we use. Basically, what we do is we take the spoon of ghee, offer it to the fire for Agni, and the remainder from that spoon is put into the water kept right next. At that time we say, Idam na mama. This is not me. Why do we start with Agni? Veda declares Agni as Devanam Mukham, the mouth of the Devas. And hence we start with Agni. Now you are not feeding the fire. You are using Agni as a divine conveyor for the offering to reach its intended deity through Agni as the mouth. The deity could be Agni as a Devata, or Indra as a Devata, or, Ishvara, or, any kind of a thing, Prajapati or whatever, Brahma, in whichever form you want, you can add it. The intent for this class is to establish through direct meaning that yajna symbolizes kartha bhava tyagam. The key word is idam na mama. Let us try to explore this a little further. When we do this process of offering, Om Prajapataye Swaha, Idam Prajapataye Idanna Mama. Now, here we do not take a new feed of ghee and offer it in the water. It is the reminder of what we have offered to the fire being offered in the water. This is the first thing that we know. We need to understand. Now, if one is wondering why we offer the remaining ghee into the water, similar to how we see Agni as the mouth that receives and distributes, we see water, the apaha, as a witness, as a purifier, and as a preserver. And hence we use it in the water. The term idam is seen with deep reference. We did not say yad, as in that which has been offered. We use the term idam, this very offering in its entirety. Everything that has come, including the spoon, is you. Everything that came or that is compiled as an offering from the heart of the Yajman is included in the term idam, this very offering. Going into the grammar, why Agnaye or Prajapataye? Why not Agni and Prajapati? The difference is the grammar again. By putting Agnaye, the representation becomes something like to the Agni, to whom this truly belongs. To the Prajapati, to whom this truly belongs. That completely removing that sense of ownership from what you are doing into that yajna is the bhavam, is the expression. That is the, when we speak about the artham, we say vachyartham, bhavartham, and lakshyartham. That bhavartham is that. And the lakshyartham is to be able to let go of the bondage the karma is putting into me. This is yajnam. We will do more analysis. A question that I had asked when I was learning about this was like, we say Agnaye Swaha, Prajapataye Swaha, but then we say Indraya, not Indraye. Why is it so? It was then that I learned about the nuances of the grammar. It depends on what is the ending. The meaning does not change whether I say Indraya or Agnaye. It remains the same. How the association is done based on the last vowel. The deity's vowel name, the ending vowel, is what determines how that association of the suffix is done. Prajapati, Agni, Hari, we say with Agnaye, Prajapataye, Haraye, Swaha. That is the way that it goes. If it was Rama, we say Ramaya, Swaha. Similarly for Indra, which is also ending with A, we say Indraya. If you expand it to the word U, Vayu, so we say Vayave Swaha, right? Not Vayaya Swaha, it is Vayave Swaha. The same concept applies to Om Namah Shivaya versus Om Namo Vishnave. This is purely grammar and it has got nothing more than that. It is not the word's meaning changes. And this is something that I learned about at that time when I was studying this. During that time, I also gained some very unique knowledge, something that which has come down traditionally, but perhaps it is kind of getting lost. Why is it that Sanskrit uses these kind of sound ending to denote a specific aspect? We know that in the Panchatattva, space is associated with the sound as the tanmatra. Similarly, the touch is associated, the connection is associated with the air, right? And so when you go into fire, it is associated with shape. When you go into water, it is associated with the taste. And when you go into the earth, it is associated with the smell. This is the basis of our tanmatras that is getting evolved from the Panchabhutas. The problem is when the sound breaks, the positional aspect in the space also breaks. What I mean is, let us say I say Naresh went, and this is the space. Now here Naresh goes and here went goes, and I put them together. And when there are many words, there are various combinations that are possible, which will drive you towards some specific meaning on how you attach them together. The idea is, let us not break that sound. Let us try to keep it contiguous. Let us say Naresha went. There is no break. So this Naresha went is going together in the space. It is stored. And the buddhi is nothing else but another space. So in the buddhi, that contiguous storing of data is enabled when I put the words that are associated for generating a meaning together. This is called as a declensional class. Basically, the sound is declining. This gains an importance in Sanskrit, making it a divine language. The reason we say divine is because the objective of the language is to guide you towards the truth. In Naresha went, the A is called as declensional class. The sound declines but holds its position without breaking the association in the meaning. Or while we do have this in English language as well, in Sanskrit it gains a significance and it forms the basis of the linguistic grammar that Sanskrit applies. We will talk about it a little more in a couple of shloka later, but you will see the greatness of Sanskrit. This feature is considered an important aspect for more efficient processing of data by the brain and is considered an important and essential element to drive the mind towards the truth. And because Sanskrit language inherently enables the ability to find the truth, the language is considered to be the language of gods. For example, in English, we break the words. And this reduces the human ability to navigate towards the truth. The principal drive becomes obedience and discipline, which is more suitable for governance than the exploration of the truth. With divided positioning of the sounds, the mind needs to weave more disparate elements to form the truth. In fact, when I was learning this, the example of no and kano, or no, to and go, they were also analyzed. Basically, the language not only breaks the concepts that build truth into sound, but also creates the concepts that build truth based on arbitrary rules, reducing the human capability to explore the truth more efficiently. I'm not attempting to compare Sanskrit versus English. Let us be very clear. I am attempting to set the context that would help you break the barriers in your quest to explore the truth. I have used English just as an example because we are teaching this class in English. You can see this in our Indian languages as well. While spirituality is primarily driven based on the language called as Sanskrit, the governance is based on local languages and they do not ascribe to the strict phonetic concepts weaved into the grammar of the language. So what I'm saying is it is not just in English. If you take Telugu, the extent of that declensional class is reduced because it is also a language of governance. Take Tamil, the same thing. It is just because we are taking this class in English, I thought, okay, I will give an example of English. And it also gives us some additional no and kano or to and go, etc. So we do have certain areas where it helps us to say what we are trying to convey. That's about it. It is not Sanskrit versus English. Every language is great in its own sense. The purpose of Sanskrit is to build that ability to navigate towards the truth. And hence, it is spiritually a very rich language. Now, some interesting facts. Did you know that tu, which is pronounced TOO, has its root on the word twa in ancient English? It is said that the word transformed but still uses the alphabet W. That is why it's not two, right? It is two. The transformation has happened, but the spelling has been retained. There are those who say Sanskrit is the mother of all European language. This example is used by those who believe in the Aryan invasion theory as well. And those who believe in Bharatavarsha as well, the entire world under one umbrella of Bharat. So each of them will say Sanskrit is the mother of all language in their own sense. But here, the concept that we are trying to say is this truth, the ability to go towards the truth, being weaved into the language. Coming back to the shloka, Yajñārtāt karmanaha. This is also seen as an awakening statement. This is a reminder to the fact that the fire does not require your ghee. Prajapati does not become richer because of your offering. Who changes? It is you. Every oblation should internally train your mind that this is not mine. This makes a yajna to be a true spiritual discipline. That bhavam should come into us. The progression should be seen as Veda's Karmakanda trains you to let go of your possession in totality as yours for you, not mine. Bhagavan takes it further in Gita and says, it's not just what you offer, dravyam. It is not just dravya tyagaha. It is your karma tyagaha, which is what is karma yoga. And in Vedanta or Upanishad, it says, let go of your ego itself, let go of your identity itself. Right? Neti, neti, neti. You know, such a beautiful one. Everything, it is not me. That neti, that ego's letting go of is done in the Upanishads, which is what we say as the meaning of the concluding shloka of this Bhagavad Gita. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. 18.66. Right, that is what is indicated, which is the Vedantic, the Upanishadic thoughts, that which trains you to let go of your ego. That is what is hinted in 18.66. And hence, there is a lot of emphasis on karma tyagaha in Bhagavad Gita, because the Veda has already taken care of training you to let go of your possession, dravya tyagam. Here we are doing the karma tyagam, and the ultimate ego, tyagam, is indicated in the last shloka. Ayam loke anyatra karmanaha. Right? That is what he says. Yajñārtāt karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. In this world, any other form of action which is not done as a yajna, as an offering to the god, leads to the bondage born out of karma, karma bandhanaha. Now, analyze it this way. Does this teaching bind you? The answer is no. But experience of that teaching? Yes, sometimes it does. Does the earnings bind you? Obviously, the answer is no. But the experience of the dependence that I develop into that earning will start slowly binding. Does social service bind you? The answer is no. But the experience of that sometimes binds you. Does money bind you? Perhaps more often people will say yes. The answer is no. But the experience of money having a greater influence on us is also binding in nature. That sometimes is what you need to explore. And you will find a pattern that in all of them, the teaching, the earning, the service that we do to the society, or the money that we are dependent on, all of them, when you explore it, analyze it, you will see a pattern. And that pattern will lead you to know that it is actually the attitude which is actually binding you, not that object. Karma yoga is that which becomes an exercise where we work on that attitude, which will eventually drop the bondage which is the cause of pain and suffering that we all go through, and the pleasure. No doubts about it. The dualistic experiences that we go through. Now let us reflect it back on 3.7. Bhagavan had said, asaktaha. And here the emphasis is yajñārtam. When you put it together, it becomes your actions should have these two properties. Not only have a detachment towards the fruits from the karma that you are doing, but also ensure you are dedicated towards the karma that you are doing. You should be completely committed in that karma. It is not like, okay, I'm not going to get anything. So, okay, whatever comes, let us just do. It should not be the case. Whatever you are doing, because you're doing it with that yajna bhavam, you do it with utmost care and perfection. Actions that stem from you must be backed with absolute dedication and purity, while remaining detached towards the same action without a binding of any expectations in it. That is the important value that Bhagavan has spoken. Non-attachment, asakta swarupam, alone will lead to one being indifferent. Meaning, if I'm just going to be asakta, then I will start slowly developing that attitude of being indifferent towards it. The yajna bhavam reinforces the positive direction in life, and hence they both must be seen together. And that is one thing that we very clearly emphasize in this particular shloka. To say that, hey, in two different shlokas, asaktaha and yajñārthat karmanaha has been said, don't separate it and see. Put it together and see. Only then the true value you will be able to read. Tadartham karma kaunteya. And Bhagavan reinforces the karma kuru, the direction, but with the attitude of yajna, tadartham, for that sake. Like for the sake of the divinity, do your karma. Be it a war that Arjuna was in, or for that matter, any other engagement that we have today. Do it for that purpose, for that sake. Mukta Sangha Samachara. That Artham is specifically called out with two qualifications, Mukta Sangaha and Samachara. Mukta Sangaha. This clarifies not without action, not jumping into another type of action or a different way of life, not without responsibility, but free from possessiveness and ahankara, same as asakta. Though this is a repetition, it is not punarukti. Here, it is a specific direction and an important one, as otherwise, the earlier mentioned asaktaha could be lost. How to do karma, yajñārtham plus mukta sangaha. This reinforces the central meaning from the seventh shloka. And hence, the mukta sangaha has been uttered by Bhagavan. Samachara. This is an important value to keep in mind as well. Execution of any karma should be proper, complete, and wholehearted. It should not be mechanical. It should not become careless. Perform your actions in the best way possible. Post action, let there be no regret that I could have done it like this. If you're measuring from the result, karma is only a small component. If you're looking at the action to measure, it is okay for us to learn. So when I say post action, let there be no regret. What I mean is do not look into the past actions to learn from. I'm saying do not carry a regret that I could have done it better. Everybody will make a mistake, and that is a pretty natural thing in life. So long as it is not due to carelessness, you should carry no pain in your mind. You should carry no, attachment to that karma which has already been done. It can be a lesson as it comes in the Mundaka Upanishad, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmano Nirveda Maya. That pariksha is very good, but having a particular impact, oh man, I could have done it this way, or this is something that is the right way to do. That which has been done has been done. Don't look back at it at all from the point of view of an experience. Take it out. Use it as a model to learn, which is good, but don't use it as a regret to carry in your life. Even if in case it is because of your mistake that maybe one whom you love the most has been impacted, has been made to suffer. It is okay. Those mistakes do happen in life, no problem. We need to learn from it and we need to look forward and go beyond, not get attached to that karma and develop a sense of suffering in ourselves. And that is also part of the samachara, which is equally applicable to yajñārthat karmanaha kuru. A Vedantic insight, yajna is fundamentally surrender of ego, na mama, aham na karta. Bhagavan is silently preparing you for the jnana. Action is inevitable. Action can either purify you or bind you, and there is no neutral. What about I kicking someone when I was asleep? There is no karta behind it. Hence, there is no karma. That which you inadvertently, unknowingly do it, remember there is no karta behind it. Only when there is an intent, there is a karta that is born, and whether you had the intent or not is only known to you. This is another important message that this particular shloka brings to us. That which accidentally happens is merely a prakritik sambhavam, a natural occurrence. Karma binds not because it is action, but because it is appropriated by the ego, by your own ego. The moment action becomes an offering, Yajñārtha, the same karma that once bound you, which resulted in some kind of a bondage being experienced by you, becomes a cause of liberation. Moving on to the Bhāṣyam. From the Shruti, Yajna is indeed Vishnu. Taittiriya Samhita 1.7.4. Yajna is Ishvaraha. Action done for his sake is Yajñārtha Karma. Apart from that action by any other action in this world, the one who performs actions is bound by the karma bandhana. But not so with actions performed as a yajna. Therefore, hey, son of Kunti, Arjuna, perform action for that sake, yajnam, being free from the attachment, having given up clinging to the fruits of action, thus conduct yourself. Further, Acharya concludes saying, Itaha cha adhikritena karma kartavyam. And as further said, which is in the subsequent shloka, an adhikari should perform the actions. Once you are an adhikari, it is your duty to perform the action. That is the main lesson that we get from this shloka. In the next shloka also, the yajna bhavam is going to continue, and I have reserved some more analysis for the yajna bhava in the shloka number 10 as well when we do our analysis. This we will take it up in our next class. Taking a break and going into the Q&A. Hari Bhaiya, Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram, Guruji. Happy Guru Purnima today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Namaskar to all
Thank
of
you
you.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for enlightening us always. I have a question. It's constantly always goes back to my thoughts question, right? You know,
Yeah.
this came in most recently. I think it's more about elevating on Rajasic thinking and the thoughts. And I think at some point I got so much attached to something. It's not a physical attachment or something, but yeah, I felt that I wrongly got more empowered. So I was not sure, like, how that happened. Then I kind of realized after the incident that the conversation was I was a little bit more authoritative or something like that. So and I was reflecting that back, and then I was thinking of asking you some guidance that when that happens, what needs to be done differently?
Great question. Right. Let us take it
Mm,
step by step in terms of how Bhagavad Gita deals with it.
yeah,
The
yeah.
first thing
Thank you.
that we will learn subsequently is why is it that a jnani is unimpacted? For that, Bhagavan gives the answer. Guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Because there is a realization in him that the guns interact with each other. Later in chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Bhagavan will introduce the concept called Gunatitaha. And in today's class, we saw that being able to look back into your actions to learn is good. And we took a Upanishadic quote for that pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamaya. Now let us put all these things connected together because it is a Q&A. I'm trying to make it as short as possible. But when you put all of these things together, you will realize that your action on that day was basically because at that moment the guna adhikyam was rajasic, and that expressed the power to be shown, which is okay. No problem. I have learned it. The problem was I getting bound into that rajasic bhavam, not becoming the gunatita, not a witness to that guna adhikyam. This is number one. So start becoming a witness to the guna adhikyam. The sage Durvasa is considered to be one of the best examples for it. He used to get very angry. He is known for that. Like he can be very quickly angry, and nobody wanted to even mess with him. That is the way that it is said. That anger can be an expression of a jnani also. The only difference is the jnani will not stop the body from being rajasic, but at the same time be not involved in that rajasic expression. A person who is going towards the Vedantic Marga will say, hey, it is manaha, and I can still train my manaha. I'm not complete. I'm not independent. I'm not liberated. And because there is a bondage with the manaha, I can still work to cure this kind of mishaps from happening in the future. But at the same time, that which has happened in the past has happened in the past. If it was another person like me, I might have said, maybe you can just go back and seek an apology. If it was happening among your peers also, at the level that you are a C staff, and that too for a large corporation, I wouldn't recommend it at all, right? We need to look past it, not even be bothered about what had happened, and continue our march with the sole purpose of the organization in your mind. If it is your juniors, don't even. There are instances where you need to establish your command. If it is your senior, you would have already apologized it 4 or 5 times because you're directly reporting into the CEO, right? So there is a huge difference, or it is something that you have to, or maybe CFO, I don't know, but it is a big difference. You are at that level, so let go of what it is. Learn that there will be time when I slip from being a gunatitaha, a witness of the guna adhikyas, not a person who can control the gunas. Gunatitaha is the word that is used, one who has gone past the influence of guna. So focus on becoming that. And always remember that your actions are guna guneshu vartanta. We have already spoken about one thing, karta swatantraha and avashaha. There are two words that we had compared. On the one hand, I say that I don't have any control in the actions that I do. On the other hand, I say I am karta, so I am swatantraha. What is the meaning when we discussed about it? The meaning was this vessel called as the body is the one which is executing, which is purely based on guna adhikyam. And there is no control on that. However, this body is not always performing. This is a human body and it can be further trained, it can be shaped. There is a lot more of intellectual power that can be put into it. And we can train the manaha to be able to gain the maturity and the vivekaha, the intellectual maturity, the buddhi. And when another similar circumstances happen, allow the body to be responding to that in a more matured way. Even then, it will be the guna adhikyam which will define how it is done. But you would have trained the body that when it is sattvic, you want to be able to do it. When it is rajasic, you want to be able to do this. So you have trained your body as in the manaha, through this particular awareness, which has increased the viveka in you, and ever remain gunatitaha. And as a senior leadership flow, my personal recommendation will always be hold your ground. It may be sometimes stupid, but as a leader, unless you are able to hold the ground, you will lose your leadership ability, especially when such a large team has to be led by you. I hope I answered your question.
Guruji, wonderful. Thank you. You have answered and deeply connected the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Villa. Okay, so we will take a break here and we will connect again next week. हरिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम्।